And now, the SleepHawk Worldwide Podcast. Here are your hosts, Brandon Staton and Tyler Hansbrough.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the SleepHawk Worldwide Podcast. This is Sleep Talk with the Big Hawk.
What's up, everybody? It's the Big Hawk. We got an amazing pod coming at you.
God, it's going to be good.
Guys, I'm excited to be back. Week off. I know you guys really missed us, but hey, you know what? We got a great pod. We're ready to go. We're excited. A lot to talk about. We're going to jump right into politics to begin with. Sleep,
absolutely.
you go ahead and lead it.
Well, I tell you what I think about these protests and the war in Gaza. We ain't going to do that, guys. We're stupid, but we ain't that
Sorry,
stupid.
guys. Yeah, we ain't that dumb.
I'm bad. In case you haven't picked up on it, we're just slapping ourselves in the face trying to get hyped up for this one. It's Sunday. We are in the middle of watching a Orlando Magic play the Cleveland Cavaliers. And as much as an NBA fan as I am, Big Hawks, decent fan of the NBA, we realize that ain't exactly, what anybody pays us for.
Yeah.
But that's all we got, guys. And so I know they took off last week because Big Hawk was under the weather. And I was like, well, you know what? We ain't going to want to talk about it anyway. So why don't we just take the week off? And so we've been in Tahiti and Tulum,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not me. So we will talk a little bit about the NFL draft because we haven't talked about that since our last pod. We will talk about circling back. Actually, I'll come back to that one. We will talk about the Kentucky Derby, which was yesterday. Neither one of us watched it, which makes it a perfect topic for us to talk about. We will talk about the NBA playoffs, which I have been watching. I mean, there's a lot of good storylines here. Cleveland just came back from about 17 down at home. Game 7 sent Banchero and the rest of the damn Duke big leagues packing. Sorry for our boy Cole Anthony, but everybody else there seems to go to Duke, so I'm okay with it. A lot of good storylines in the NBA playoffs. Hurricanes, we'll just enter them into the fray because they're in game 1 of their second round of the playoffs, and old horn cranker Hansbrough's here with us to really give us a deep dive on what's going on with the Canes. But first, we'll get back to the content of our last pod, which was UNC basketball. Good place to start. We were hoping that RJ would come back. We were sad that Seth didn't come back. Lo and behold, they must listen because now they're both coming back. Kind of weird. I don't know how, Seth wound up coming back. I don't think you hear that a lot. Guy enters the portal and then comes back. Absolutely thrilled, as I think most of us know, to have him because, that's one of my favorite players on the team. And I think he's going to be a great player next year. And hopefully continue to be in the future. RJ, swan song, man. We're obviously glad to have that dude back. So things are really looking good for the Heels next year, roster-wise, Big Hawk. Presuming we don't lose anybody we don't expect to. But what'd you think of that news?
Listen, Sleep, we got on here and we talked about Tremble and how good of a player he was and what he did for the team. We're going to miss him. You know what? When he hit that portal, I think he found a new love for UNC. I don't think he really realized how much he appreciated this university, his teammates, and the coaching staff and everything. And I don't think he's ever felt better about coming back. And apparently he loves the place that much more. So, hey, you know what? I'm glad he hit the portal and changed his mind. And now that RJ is back, RJ is going to be deadly next year. He's got to be the preseason player of the year. I'm excited about RJ coming back because we saw what he could do this year. I think he's going to have that much more confidence. And listen, the guy can score and he can get you a bucket anytime you need it. And we all know what RJ can do, and we're excited that he's back. And you know what? This puts us in a good place to start next year. And, you never know really what you're getting in the portal, but I know that the coaching staff is working. They're looking for guys. And you just never know about these additions until the season starts. You can say what you want about all the transfers and who you have coming into the portal. Listen, sometimes it just doesn't work out. But whenever you do return players from the previous year and you have a core group of guys, yes, we're going to miss Armando. But when you have guys that know each other's games and are comfortable and can kind of pick up where they left off from last year, that is a great thing. And also it's proven success. You've seen it in the tournament. So I'm excited. I think that's great news. happy that they're both back, and also that gets us some momentum. Just gets us hyped up for basketball season next year. I'm excited about it, Sleep.
Yeah, we have only time will tell if we've learned a valuable lesson, because we talk about this a lot. And I think the biggest difference between next year and this past year is the expectations, right? It's almost like we've come full circle. We had a great year, when we made the run up to the national championship game, come out by far the favorite to win the title and don't make the tournament. I mean, it was just one of the craziest stories of all time, in my opinion. Maybe not all time, but it's just a crazy tournament, maybe all time. And then you kind of, you have this bounce back year, and then in a weird way, you get all your weapons back, or at least all the ones that you can get back. And, so we're going to be in a similar situation. We won't be the odds-on favorite. I just looked it up. Carolina is the, according to MGM, fifth best odds to win the title next year, which means a hill of absolute butter beans, right? But I mean, UConn, Kansas, Duke, Houston, Carolina, like, okay, there's a pretty good chance, like, those guys are going to be in the mix at some point. So, it'll be interesting to see, because with those expectations come a heightened sense of pressure, and that was kind of the silver lining of the year before, was that pressure was gone. It was very low expectations, and we got to play our way into who we really were, as opposed to having to play up to what people thought we were. And, so we're going to be in that spot next year. I mean, but that's quintessential Carolina basketball. There's very few teams that you can say that about. And that's one of the things that makes it a great place to play basketball, is because the expectations are high. So I'm not lamenting the fact that the expectation. I'm not making excuses before these guys have had a chance to play. Like, that's what it is to play at Carolina, I imagine. So, and you got leaders in RJ, having Seth Tremble back as a defender, and I think a good offensive player. People don't, of course, that wasn't, his role sort of diminished, I think, his offensive opportunities, and I think that role is going to expand. I think Jalen Washington is going to be a lot better. You got some of these new recruits coming in. It'll be interesting to see if Hubert sort of distributes minutes differently than he has in the past, which is basically go with a heavy 5-man front. And the only time the other two that seem to really be in a rotation get any substantive minutes generally is when maybe there's some foul trouble or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see if he runs, kind of that 5+2, or if he runs maybe a little bit deeper roster. But nonetheless, I mean, plenty of reasons for UNC fans to be optimistic heading into next year. Obviously, a long way to go before we start figuring out, who's staying, who's going, and what the outlook actually looks like. But in football, and Carolina football related, NFL draft, dude, I am so pissed. All right, at the Washington Commanders. And this kid might be good, Jaden Daniels at LSU. I mean, he won the Heisman Trophy, for crying out loud. He's obviously great pick in any other year. I think I'm okay with this. I mean, I was already bummed out. I mean, I love Sam, Carolina quarterback at Washington. I mean, for those of you who don't know, Sleep Dogs, I've been through it. So I've been a Washington fan through the worst part of Washington fandom, because when I was like born into this, it's because Washington was good, right? And I've spent my whole life watching them suck. I mean, I barely remember winning a Super Bowl in 1992, and I don't remember anything good since.
Yeah,
like almost anything. So, when we have opportunity to get Drake Maye at number 2, and we don't take him, I'm happy for Drake Maye, because that's probably good for him, because Washington ain't a great place to play football. But Commanders are going to regret that decision. Big time is all I'm going to say. I mean, Daniels might be good. Oh, zesty Caleb Williams. I mean, he might be good, but people missed out on Drake, man. And I'm done with the Commanders, dude. I'm like, I ain't cheering for him anymore. But then here's the thing. Like, I just wanted to cheer for wherever Drake went, but I don't want to cheer for the Patriots, dude. Like, I mean, that's ultimate bandwagon move.
No, the Patriots. No. Listen, man. I am a Patriots fan right now, and I'm excited. you know what? Tom Brady's not there right now. Belichick is not there. This is the best time to jump on the Patriots because they're at the lowest of their lowest, okay? And they're going to sky up. And you have the chance to say, you know what? I've been with the Patriots since 2024. And the reason I say that is because I'll be damned. Whenever the Rams moved from St. Louis to LA, the Rams are my squad, and I just haven't found a team. And there's absolutely no way I'm going to jump on the Kansas City Chiefs after all the success that they've had, and everyone in the country right now is a Chiefs fan, is what it feels like. So I just can't jump on board with them just because that would be definition bandwagon. So right now, listen, they're not a good team, but they have potential. And Drake's going to do big things, and they're going to get better. And so right now, guys, I am a Patriot, and I am a Patriots fan, and I'm excited about this.
I mean, you see the American flag in the background. I'm a Patriots fan too now and then.
Let's go.
Just going to go with it. Dude, Paul Revere on the side of the helmet, dude, just riding in. I think when Drake Maye's done,
night, one if by
that's
day.
right, baby. 2 if by sea, 1 if by land.
Yeah,
land
whatever.
if by air. And if dude, no one's gonna know who Tom Brady is when Drake Maye's done there. Everybody's gonna be like, man, remember when we thought Tom Brady was good? Everybody's gonna be like, nah, I wasn't even born then. But look, we go way back to 24. We go back to 2024. We've been here from day one. You know what I mean? We're born again is what we are. Dude, I tell you what, I'm about to just gobble up Drake Maye rookie cards when those start hitting the shelves. So, dude, I think that dude's going to be good. I'm
with you.
I think he's going to be so good. I just love Drake Maye. So I hope whenever they play the Patriots, I hope Drake Maye throws for 600 yards and 11 touchdowns and rushes for 200 more against them. Dude, the Commanders, I've just had it. If I give up on the Commanders, they'll win the Super Bowl. So, you know.
No, but they will not. The Commanders are going to command. They will not. They will not even make the playoffs.
Dude, their theme song's all jacked up, dude. Their uniforms are jacked up. Their name is jacked up. Their roster's jacked up. They had a chance to go get like Bill Belichick or some great coach, and they go get Dan, whatever his name, Dan Campbell. Nah, that's the crying coach from line. Dude from Dallas. Like, I don't know, man. I'm over it. I'm also watching here. They're doing the. I didn't realize the Miami Grand Prix is starting right now. Who you think's going to win that one? Dude, F1, since the F1 Netflix special, has just gone, I mean, in a free fall. I mean, the whole thing is so boring. Like, why would you watch this? It's like this dude, Max Verstappen's clearly got, something going on with his car that nobody else has. And, I mean, dude just wins every race. It's like, it's stupid. It's boring. It wasn't the only head scratcher, though, the Commanders, before we get into anything else. Dude, I mean, obviously we know a lot about football. And by a lot, I mean not a lot. The Falcons drafting after signing Kirk Cousins for $186 million, spending a number 8 pick on Michael Penix from Washington. I mean, we're late. Everybody's already talked around this 10,000 ways. But that's just mind-boggling to me, man. Like,
yeah,
I don't understand in what world. Because here's the thing, right? Like, let's say you think that he's going to be the next guy. It's like he's not going to sit for 4 years. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I mean, they're basically telling Kirk Cousins. I mean, maybe he sits for 3. I think that's what Aaron Rodgers did. But like, how is that going to work, dude? Like, you're going to pay this dude. By the time he actually plays, I don't know, man. Maybe they saw that's what happened with Jordan Love too. I mean, it's kind of talking out of both sides because we always talk about how these guys just get drafted and just get thrown to the wolves. I mean, maybe it was a good move, but it sure seems weird that they would use such a high pick when they have, I mean, maybe they just don't see anything in the next draft coming to make it make sense, but I don't know what I don't know, dude. Somebody's going to be the best GM in the history of GMs or get fired next season over that one.
Yeah, I actually think it was an awful pick too. Especially now, a lot of people are making the argument that Kirk Cousins getting kind of older. He's coming off an injury. You're not really sure how he's going to be. But listen, to me, I think Kirk Cousins, regardless of the lack of the playoff success, I think he's a very good quarterback. And I think what you do is you try to get pieces to protect him and give him, I'm not really sure what their needs are, but I can tell you right now, the need isn't to have a backup quarterback to build for your future here in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And I'm with you, Sleep. You spend all that money on getting a quarterback. Everyone talked about how important it is to get a good quarterback to Atlanta. And listen, you got one that's kind of injured, a little bit banged up. You need to get pieces to protect him. And if not, if you're not going to do that, then at least get him some weapons that he can throw to. And I know they have them. The Drake London kid.
Yep.
He's a pretty good receiver. He's got a bright
Bijan.
future. Yep. But yeah, I just thought that they could have used that pick a lot better.
Yeah, it's like if you buy a car and an insurance policy to cover, like if the car gets struck by lightning and the engine messes up. It's like the likelihood of it happening, the cost for the likelihood is I mean, of course, if Kirk Cousins gets hurt or if he's like great, but you're basically saying like at that point, that's less of an insurance policy and more of like, we just don't believe in that investment. Like we had second thoughts after we paid this dude $200 million. So yeah, it's going to be strange. It'll be interesting. It'll be like, I mean, heavily scrutinized. And I do think, I mean, Kirk Cousins, Washington quarterback, and I think Kirk Cousins had a perfectly fine career. It just goes to show that you never know what's going on. But I think he'll play really well and he'll be motivated by it. And it seems he's really professional too. And hell, he's getting paid $186 million, man. He don't care if that guy's there. If I'm him, I'm like, all right, dude, like I got my money and I ain't getting any after that either. So
he's made a lot of money too.
Ding, they're off and racing. Basically, race is over. Speaking of races, Kentucky Derby was yesterday. You watched the Kentucky Derby, Big Hawk?
Nah, I was playing a pickleball thing in Bald Head, but
yeah.
Man,
I'd rather get kicked in the balls.
Yeah.
Than watch
Who won? I have no clue, but
I can't remember, but it's like the closest finish in like a long time. 3 horses.
Wow.
Photo finish right at the end. I can't remember. They're all got weird names. If you had a horse, what would you name it? There you go.
Oh man,
I don't know, because you can't name it like, Fido, like a dog or something. You got to name it something majestic.
Forrest Gump.
Yeah, Forrest Gump would be a good. Forrest Gump would be a good one, dude. That was an on the spot question. That's an absolutely great horse name.
Yeah, heavy leg. Oh, heavy legs.
Oh man, that's hilarious. I don't know what I would name it, but Forrest Gump, like I can't. Yeah, I definitely can't. Can't come up with anything better than that off the top of my head. I'm way too tired to do it. But yeah, so 157,000. So we were talking about this at a family brunch that we had today. No, Big Hawk's big brunch guy. The Kentucky Derby, the purse is $5 million. Which, first of all, I would have thought the Kentucky Derby for all the pageantry would be much more than that. I would think that would be a much higher purse. It's not. Mm-hmm. The winner gets $3.1 million. So that basically means, like, if you don't win, I mean, think about it, man. There's a lot of golf tournaments that no one's ever heard of that the winner wins $1 million. So, like, winner gets 3.1 mil. The jockey gets 10% of that. And the trainer gets 10% of that. And I know there's other races, right? I know that there's all this money in the horses and there's all this money in the ownership. But like, if I win the Kentucky Derby, if I'm the jockey that wins the Kentucky Derby and I only win $300,000, like, why do you even do this? I mean, $300,000 is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. But if I won the Super Bowl, or if I won the Masters, like, you get a lot more than $300,000. Granted, now you're like the caddy in this situation in the golf analogy, as opposed to Tiger, right?
Yeah.
But still, I just thought there would be a lot more money involved for the team that wins. I mean, I guess there are endorsements of what, right? I mean, like, who was the jockey? I don't know. Like, what would he endorse
jockey ever
besides underwear? You know what I'm saying?
Like, listen, Sleep. There's a lot of money to be made in horse breeding.
Yeah.
And listen, if you get the winning horse at Kentucky Derby, that thing is going to be pumping out a lot of. It's going to be making a lot of babies for a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
And so, once that thing is retired from racing, its job's not finished there. The real money starts.
Oh yeah. I told my wife about the stud fee, and then I think she was trying to pimp me out.
Hey, so I've got a lot of people in Kentucky, and you'd be surprised how they treat these thoroughbreds or these horses with a lot of good bloodline. I mean, they're very protected, and they make a lot of money on the breeding end of it. But yeah, these I would have thought there would have been more money for the winner. I'm with you, Sleep.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the money is obviously in the horses, in the breeding the horses. Dude, Max Verstappen is winning this race by like 40 miles already. Like this race is so stupid, and they're running this thing like right next to the highway. It's kind of weird in Miami. Yeah, so would have thought that, but then I started thinking, I was like, dude, 157,000 people there. All right, just think how much alcohol is getting sold to that thing. Oh, yeah. Think how many bets are getting placed on that thing. And you got to figure the house is going to get 10% of that in general. Just the pageantry of it all is just, I mean, it's insane. I don't get it. I'll never get it. It's like I'll watch it if I'm like at a cookout or something, or a party or something, and everybody else is watching. I'm not like, I had no idea the Kentucky Derby was yesterday until yesterday. Kind of a cool thing, because if you're like into sort of instant gratification, it's sort of like it starts and the bad boy's over. You're good. Like, get on with your day, So that's kind of cool. But yeah, never really got into the horse thing. And then there's the Preakness and what's the other one?
I will say last year was a really cool story though, is where a horse got injured, and then so they had to drive one over the day before, and that horse ended up winning the Kentucky Derby as a substitute. I thought that was really cool.
I didn't know that.
A year or two, maybe last year or the year before.
I remember a few of the horses' names, like the American Pharaoh. Didn't that one win the Triple Crown? Like, I mean, it's kind of cool when there's like a horse that they like hype up, and then like they go to the Kentucky Derby and win by like a landslide. And I think that's what American Pharaoh was the last one. Maybe he won the Triple Crown, maybe he didn't. But anyway, dude, yeah, it's what a weird sport, man. Horses are unpredictable, bro. Like, I am not a horse guy. I'll pet them, but I got on a horse when I was a kid one time, and that sucker started trotting, and I didn't tell it to, on purpose. And I did. If I didn't tell it to, I don't know how I got it to stop. Like, somebody had to trot up beside me. I mean, it probably wasn't even going fast, but it scared the daylights out of me. I ain't never been on a horse since. So anyway, should get more money. This is a petition for the jockey to get more money for winning the Kentucky Derby, for crying out loud. NBA playoffs. I think that's where we're going next. So we just got done. The Cavs just beat Orlando at home, win Game 7. Nobody cares, right? Get it? But it was a great series. Last night, Anthony Edwards, this will be the night before when you're listening to this. Anthony Edwards goes for 43 on the road in Denver at elevation, where it's incredibly hard to play, against probably the best, like, defending champion, probably the best team in the NBA, much less the best team left in the playoffs. Dude, he might be the guy. I think maybe in 3 or 4 years, like, he might be clearing away the best player in the NBA. I mean, he's got some consistency issues to work on. But there's a lot of like sort of meme style stuff going around the internet about the commonalities between him and Jordan. And I'm not going that far, but I am going to say that if you look for it, there are wilder conspiracies. Like, I mean, this kid's body language, his fluidity is like, and I was watching something the other day that Kevin Durant's podcast, sorry, not Kevin Durant, Kevin Garnett. And he talked about, you know, how when Anthony Edwards drives to the lane, his head is up and he's attacking the rim, like in a way that no one else really does in the whole league. Dude, we said this like at the beginning when we told you that, you know, if you wanted to get into the playoffs, like he was one to watch. I mean, dude, he's putting on an absolute show. And it certainly looks like he's poised to go on a run similar to like what MJ did back in his early days and sort of announce that he's next up. And in a playoffs, it doesn't have LeBron, doesn't have Steph anymore, doesn't have Giannis anymore, doesn't have KD anymore. You know, I started kind of thinking, I was like, you know, a lot of the guys that have been the guys for a long time, like they're fading right in front of us, man. Like they're not good enough anymore to win games by themselves. Like that's the part that's like so hard to sort of realize is like these guys were so good for a time that like, I mean, LeBron's first finals team with the Cavs, like, dude, their roster was abysmal. I mean, they won 9 games the next year when he went to Miami. I mean, they were awful. So, you know, like that era is over for those guys. And it's just a really, you know, you've got him and you've got OKC. I mean, Denver is like, you can say they maybe are a boring brand of basketball. Like Jokic is kind of a boring superstar, right? But like, it's like the numbers are always there. And if you like basketball, the sort of art of it, they're fun to watch. You got Luka still in it. I don't know, man. I'm just kind of curious to get your thoughts. Pacers and Knicks. I mean, that's an old school 90s series that's about to happen. I mean, that's going to be buzzworthy. And the Knicks are playing really well, and they don't have Julius Randle. The Pacers are playing really well. You know, they just knocked off the Bucks. So I don't know. Again, I'm just curious to get your thoughts on current state of the playoffs, and then I have an interesting sort of perspective on it versus college basketball.
All right. First of all, I'll start with the Minnesota and Denver series. I think this is going to be an unbelievable series. And the reason I like this is because both teams play big. You see kind of an old school style with Minnesota. They have Gobert, who's a 7-1-ish, 2-ish guy that can really defend. He's been Defensive Player of the Year multiple times. They also have Karl Anthony Towns, who for the longest time has been a very good player, somewhat has had kind of the reputation as being a stat guy, just hadn't put it together in the playoffs. And then they have this kid, Naz Reid, who is, I think he might have been 6th man of the year.
Mm-hmm. He was
coming off the bench for Minnesota. And you have those guys that are all playing big minutes. And a lot of teams in this small ball era, Minnesota has gone away from the analytics of basketball and just said, you know what, we're going to go big. And they've been winning, and they've been dominating a lot of games. Now, Anthony Edwards has been super exciting to watch. He can get you a bucket, small forward type guy, can create his own shot, extremely athletic. You should definitely check him out, watch his series, and also Jokic. Jokic, to me, the Joker for Denver, is exciting to watch. He is a guy that, yeah, he doesn't look athletic, but kind of in a way, for all your old school basketball fans, kind of has a passing ability of Larry Bird, where he can make no-look passes and just gets double or triple teamed, and then all of a sudden he's just making this spectacular pass. Very good, fundamentally sound player. He can bring it up the floor. He can do it all. This series is going to be great and fun to watch. It's going to be a battle, and I love seeing the old school style of Minnesota. But also, when you look at the East, I think the series in the East is Indiana and also the Knicks right now. The Knicks in the Garden, the Knicks have been starving for a good team. And you know what? They got it. Jalen Brunson has exceeded expectations beyond what anybody thought he would do when he got to New York. Now, the interesting part of this series to me is if you remember, Brunson was with Dallas, and Dallas was like, no, we're not giving you that type of money.
Mm-hmm.
So he went to New York. Everyone criticized Brunson in that contract the Knicks gave him. Well, he has beyond exceeded those expectations, is probably considered underpaid for what a lot of people have criticized New York for giving him that type of money.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting part of this is when he was with Dallas and they rejected and they said, no, we're not going to pay you that type of money. Rick Carlisle was a coach. Rick Carlisle is the head coach of the Indiana Pacers right now. And so that's going to be an interesting dynamic in this series. And that's what makes it fun for me is the drama, the added drama right there. Carlisle didn't think that Brunson was good enough. Brunson with the New York Knicks, he's been doing his thing and exceeding expectations. And the Knicks and the fan base, they're hungry. They think they're going to win the thing after knocking off the 76ers, which the 76ers limped into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I've never even heard of a guy playing with Bell's, whatever it's called, palsy that Embiid had.
Yeah.
I respect him for battling through that and playing in the playoffs. But they knocked them off. And the Pacers, they're an interesting team. And they got Pal Siakam from Toronto at the trade deadline.
Yep.
I thought that was kind of like a trade that kind of didn't get a lot of attention, but it's panned out in a big way. And he's added a scoring dynamic. He can get you a bucket on most. You can put him pretty much anywhere on the floor, and he can get you a bucket. Halliburton, who their star early on for the Pacers, he's had some okay games. He hasn't really, had, his all-star type game in the playoffs yet, but I'm waiting for him to kind of break through. And this series, to me, the Knicks and the Pacers, old school, big time basketball series. These are the two series to me to watch in the East and West right now. Now, whether they, come out of, the Timberwolves come out of the West and, the Knicks or Pacers come out of the East, probably, I don't know. Probably not, but those are going to be two fun series to watch, guys.
Yeah, so you got Boston and Cleveland. Okay, Boston's the 1 seed. Cleveland is like maybe the 3 or 4. And New York.
Porzingis is hurt for Boston, though. Keep that in mind, guys. He's had a pretty good year. Big factor, but he's out with a strained calf.
And Boston took pretty easy care of Miami, but Miami didn't have Jimmy Butler. I mean, they were limping in too. So they also didn't do a lot to impress, in my opinion. But Boston's still got to be the favorite of the 4 teams left in the East. Again, Boston plays Cleveland in the upcoming series, and then New York plays Indiana. The winner of those 2 series will face in the Eastern Conference Finals. Then you got Oklahoma City and Dallas, and then you've got Denver and Minnesota. And that Denver and Minnesota, and then that Pacers-Knicks series, those are going to be like heavyweight brawls. I think Oklahoma City is going to beat Dallas in 5 games. I think Boston. See, the thing about Cleveland is I mean, they have a star in Donovan Mitchell, and we just saw that in this series. They got pushed kind of to the brink with we were just with Orlando, but Orlando's a good young team. And they play great defense. And without Porzingis there, like Evan Mobley inside and Jared Allen, I don't know if Allen is hurt or not.
He's been out the past 3 games with a wrist injury.
Okay. I don't know what his status is, but nonetheless, you got to think Boston's the favorite there. I mean, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, too much firepower. New York, so to go back to Brunson, I didn't realize that about Carlisle. That's a great point. I mean, Jalen Brunson scored 28.7 points a game this year and had 6.7 assists, almost a steal per game, only 2.5 turnovers as the main ball handler, point guard, shot 48% from the floor and 40% from 3. Dude had a hell of a year. I mean, like, he'll be in the MVP. He'll be down far in the MVP vote. Like, I'm not saying he's even in contention for it, but this was his first year as an all-star, and he'll probably finish top 10 in the MVP. And there was some call outs on him, after he joined, that he was, too small to be a star and all that sort of stuff. He is, how tall is he? I don't know. He's not tall, but dude can ball, period. So it'd be fun to watch him. The thing that's interesting to me is is this Denver Minnesota series, especially after the Timberwolves go in and win that first game. I think Anthony Edwards can sort of, like I said, announce his arrival here. And then if that sets up, here's where this gets crazy. If you get Oklahoma City and Minnesota, I texted you, a week or so ago and told you I thought Oklahoma City was going to win it all. I've been watching them play, and they are not only are they young, and this is going to be a segue to my point. Orlando's young. Oklahoma City's young. I think Minnesota's young-ish. Denver's not young. Dallas is not that young. Indiana's pretty young. Cleveland is relatively young. Hell, I think even New York might be one of the older. My point is that Oklahoma City is a great team with great players. I don't think a single one of those dudes are like 25. And I told you I think they're going to win it all. And you told me I was nuts. And then I thought, I was like, I'm telling you, dude, we'll have this conversation. But now, after watching Minnesota and Denver in game one, I think Minnesota is the team that I'm worried about more than Denver. And, I'm just not really worried about Boston or Cleveland in a matchup there. And I'm not really worried about New York or Indiana in a matchup there. I mean, I think Oklahoma City's team is just really, really good and really, really deep. I mean, they got 5th and 6th and 7th dudes would probably be top 2 or 3 players in a lot of rosters in the league right now as of this season. And they just seem to love playing with each other. I mean, after every game, they got so much camaraderie that it's like, I don't know if Oklahoma City actually has a rival team, but if they did, if Duke did the kind of shit that they do, we would hate it. Because they all get together after every game and do the interviews together and stuff. But I think they're really, really good. And Dallas for all Luka is, and as much as I hate Kyrie, I mean that he's freaking good. They don't really seem to go much deeper than that. And I mean they beat the Clippers, but the Clippers didn't have Kawhi, and what a dud they were again. You know what I mean? So I just think that's one to watch. If Oklahoma City winds up playing Minnesota and you don't watch the NBA, you should tune in for that. And I think it'll change your mind. Cause that's going to be 2 different teams, right? One plays big, one plays small and athletic, cause Gobert ain't going to guard, Karl Anthony Towns is going to have to get out on like Chet Holmgren. And I thought Chet Holmgren was going to be absolute garbage, just like I thought that Victor Wembanyama wasn't going to be and I was totally wrong on that, right? But I think the Western Conference picture, something new is happening in the NBA, and that's what brings me to my sort of point that I was talking to Big Hawk about before. We talk a lot about the one and done and the transfer culture and all this sort of stuff, and it kind of struck me as I've been watching a couple of playoff series because the Knicks, everybody talks about how, I think Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, and maybe even somebody else all went to Villanova. The Magic have Banchero, they have Wendell Carter, and I think they got another dude that went to Duke. And they have Cole Anthony, who didn't go to Duke, but is obviously went to Carolina, but still sort of it seems like there's several NBA teams that are, dude, it's almost like they're extensions of college basketball in a weird way because all the players are so young now. All the stars are younger than 25 for the most part, the up and coming stars. And my question is does the NBA with the changes that are happening in the college game where players don't stay either because of the portal or because they go straight to the NBA with more frequency than ever after one season, do college fans begin to open up to I'm not saying they just stop watching Carolina basketball and start watching the fucking Charlotte Hornets, right? But do they become more open to the NBA because that's the way now? And what you're actually, sort of hoping for is to see your guy come and land at your school for 1 year and then propel. Because like we talked about a couple episodes ago, I think the days are over where you got a guy that comes to your school, stays there 2, 3, much less 3 or more years, and then becomes a star. And it's, you made the point, Zion was going to be the number 1 pick. Banchero was going to be the number 1 pick. Anthony Davis has nothing to do with that program. Marvin Williams was going to be the number 2 pick. like regardless of whether he went to Carolina or not. And so I'm just curious with this sort of the youth and the changing of the guard in the NBA, what that might mean for more harmony or synchronization between the NBA and college.
There's a possibility for the younger crowd, but I think that the college traditional basketball, like the older fan, I just feel like the connection with the university, I just don't see them committing to the NBA. But I'll tell you this, Sleep. The thing that really makes the NBA so special is the playoffs and the home atmosphere and the crowd and the energy. I just feel like anybody, if they experience that, they're going to be like somewhat of an NBA fan. It's really hard unless you really like basketball and you live in a city that has an NBA team. It's kind of hard to follow the season throughout the whole year. 82 games is very difficult. You might kind of keep up with them and watch them, but I just feel like, college, there's so much more to college basketball as far as like alumni. They have that, the spirit of care. There's a connection there that I just don't think that people are going to, jump ship to the NBA to watch. But I get what you're saying. We all miss the process of watching kids play for 4 years, developing and having that connection and watching them go through, up and downs. And then, by the time they're senior, we all like, hey, you know what, man, this kid's been such great to our program. I respect him. We saw him develop. That connection is kind of dying. And I do think that college basketball, there's going to be a cleanup process. And I think it's got to start with this portal. Everyone's getting frustrated about these prop bets and not allowing people to make prop bets on college games. That's not the fixing point to college sports. You need to hit this portal. You need to clean the portal up, and it starts there. Guys just can't be jumping every single year to a different college. That's not what college is about. And also, you're not doing the kids a favor. I think it's a bad look. And also, I don't think it teaches a lot of kids, focusing on themselves. And I think they're losing a lot of, discipline and, involving as a person just to jump ship to, whatever they think is a good opportunity. There needs to be connection and there needs to be, somewhat of loyalty to programs. I don't have the answer right now, but I guarantee you if I had to payroll of someone or one of these people at the NCAA, I would fix the problem tomorrow. And it wouldn't take me months to solve. I put my foot down right now. And that's the problem with the NCAA.
Yeah, my only pushback to that point on the portal is just I do believe the kid should always have a chance to work his way up. If he sort of excels at a program and has the opportunity to play at a bigger program, but that becomes very gray when you start getting, it's one thing if you go D2 to D1. It's one thing if you go, I don't know, East Carolina to an ACC school or something like that. But it becomes difficult when you're at Wake Forest, right? And you want to go play at Syracuse or something. I don't know. I'm just making up a couple schools. So, I'm with you though that the process should at least have some definitions because the same thing happens, in the pros and guys are getting paid now, and there's money that doesn't. It's the weird part is the compensation isn't contractual. It's strictly, marketing, what the hell do they call it? Endorsement deal, right? Versus a contractual obligation where like, hey, you got drafted to come here, like you got to stay here. So in my mind, the way you fix the transfer portal is you guys just get paid through the college of some port, some get paid through the NCAA some amount of money, and then you can control that because the kid's got to sign a contract to be there. But I'm not in favor of that because that means the NCAA has to manage it, and God knows, they'd be better off with damn people, but just let DC handle it at that point. So yeah, I'm with you. It's interesting, and my point is like I don't think that people are going to leave the NBA or leave college for the NBA, meaning fans. But will the NBA grow, I guess, and expand because the game is perceived now as, something different than it has been, which is, they don't play any defense. It's just nobody's at, I get no one's at the games, and that's a big thing. Like in the regular season, it's hard. OKC playing Indiana on a Tuesday night, like, you're just not going to get a Duke Carolina atmosphere, ACC atmosphere, and that kind of thing. So, plus the arenas are larger in general, right? So you need the crowd involvement, and when the playoffs roll around, it's definitely a better product for sure. And I think the same can be said things like hockey and baseball too, and football is different because it's such a limited resource, right? You get one a week and 16, 18 a year, I guess, at this point. So yeah, it's just fascinating to me. I mean, you're just watching the stars, and we were talking about this. I mean, LeBron, Steph, Giannis, KD, I mean, these are the stars. Like, they are not in like the second round of the playoffs. It's happening like right in front of us. Is these guys' careers are on the decline, and like in some cases like rapidly, because these are the same guys that could take a shitty team to the NBA finals like 5 or 6 years ago. And that's done. And I also don't think there's any guys now, because I think Luka is the next guy that's like really, really good. And he's got Kyrie, and I don't think he's going to take Dallas to pass this round, much less to the finals, right? So anyway, a lot of cool storylines. Little 3 p.m. coffee, get you through this. All right. Everybody's like, damn, Sleep's on one about the NBA. Well, this is the old Folgers, about 40 ounces of it. So
you really drinking Folgers?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
I'm drinking local
my
coffee.
My grandpa used to drink Folgers.
Locally sourced, yeah. Worst part of waking up would be Folgers in your cup.
My grandpa, oh man, I love this story. My brother got my grandpa like a bunch of beans from this really cool place that he has coffee at occasionally.
Yeah.
And grounded them. And my grandpa used to drink Folgers. And like the big thing where he's
the big tin, yeah.
He took the top off his tin and took my brother's grounded beans that he got him and poured them in with the Folgers grounded beans and recapped the Folgers cup and then threw the bag away. I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, dude. And they don't like that strong coffee, man. I remember I made my grandpa a cup of coffee one time because, like, the old school folks, like grandpas and grandmas, man, they put like just enough in there to make it like dirty water. I'm like, you drink that, you could drink a gallon of this stuff and fall asleep while you're driving. Okay. And one time I just basically like poured in some Maxwell House in the coffee pot. And I mean, it was barely tasted like it was like actual coffee. And my grandpa was like, how much coffee did you put in here? Like, I'm going to be awake all night. I was like, dude, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, brother. Chill. Like, I mean, you ain't had any caffeine in 60 years drinking this coffee, dude. But yeah, I'm the same. I'm a coffee snob, dude. I drink me and Big Hall, we both drink coffee a lot.
I love coffee, man. There's nothing better than coffee in the morning, the smell, just waking up to it. I love
it. A little panic attack midday,
Oh, yeah.
I've been known to have it. So, yeah, I mean, it got us through this one. Shout out Pine State, man. That's where I got my beans from. Hurricanes play tonight. Game 1, Rangers. Rangers are pretty good. I don't know anything else about
I'm ready. I can't wait.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Me and Sleep are big into hockey now.
Storm warning. Okay. Yeah. Shout out to Jimmy's, man. We're coming to Jimmy's golf tournament May 22nd. So we're gonna have some more about that because that golf tournament, guys, is gonna be something.
Oh boy, there's gonna be a lot of hole-in-ones and birdies and eagles.
Oh yeah, man. We already talked about how we are just the most honest scramble players.
Oh man,
there's a chance we might have some Carolina connections out there on our team. More to come on that. That'll be fun. But yeah, man, got your cookouts and graduation parties and all that stuff coming in. Go to Jimmy's, man. They'll deliver the food to your house. I just had a crab cake the other night. It was awesome because, like, I was just hungry, and all you got to do is take them out of the freezer with a little butter in a pan. And pow, you might as well be at Jimmy's, brother. So, yeah, check those guys out. They support us, so support them. And, yeah, shout out to everybody that made it through this one with us, man. It's one of the best ones yet, as usual. So you got anything else, Big Hawk?
Stay safe.
Stay safe.